Good idea, young man. Well done. The only problem is, now I've got a microphone, I better start. I'm not.
Yep.
Right, so hello, good morning, and welcome.
Hello.
Namaste. So I can't do the clicker and the mic and swap my hands because I'm a bit. So Santosh wanted me to share some ideas about the small business entrepreneur journey. It doesn't matter about me, but for the last 20 years I've been helping businesses grow, and I see a number of, shall we say, touch points that could be easing the pain. So I'm going to just run through them quickly, but my passion is to genuinely help. And what I mean by that is I'm here until my plane leaves at 9 a.m. So if you need or would like anything in the meantime, grab me and have a brew and I'll help. It's a passion to help. Now if we can drive this. Yeah, there you go. So the first thing, absolutely first thing, why are you doing your business? So I'll give you a really clear example, and I'm not in any way picking, but you're now in your own new business because you were doing that same business before being encouraged to go on your own. And a lot of small businesses start out that way. So they have been an accountant, they moved on, and they carried on being an accountant. And then I say to them one day when they're having a moan over a cup of coffee, and they say, "Oh, God, work." And I'm like, "Don't you enjoy your work?" "No." And I say, "So what would you do if you did not have to worry about money? Blank canvas, what would you do?" "Oh, God, if I didn't have to worry about money, I'd be painting, I'd be motorcycling, I'd do tours, I'd do whatever." So my humble, simple suggestion is follow your heart. If you don't love being an accountant, don't be an accountant, or whatever job. See, I believe personally that life is, this life that we're in right now, that we're conscious of, is short. Even if you live to be 90 or 100, it's short. And I believe passionately that even one day doing what you don't want to do is a waste of a day. And I know what gets in the way, the fear. "Oh, well, how can I pay the rent? How can I pay the mortgage? How can I pay my bills?" Fear blocks, but courage to step in rewards. So my absolute loving urge is do what you love. Question why you're doing what you're doing. Second thought, really simple, I know. I'm not trying to invent anything here, but if you know why you're doing it, you really also need to know who you're doing it for, or to, or who is your ideal audience. And I'm not going to pick on anybody, but I have been 20 years as a coach and a sales leader, and I've asked thousands of companies, who's your customer? And usually it's slightly better than anyone with a pulse, but only slightly better. Who do you want to sell to? Well, anybody really. Come on. And I know it's hard. And here's another reason why it's hard. Because you think you can do multiple skills. So you say to yourself, well, that person could buy that or that or that, and I can help them in several ways. So you broaden your service range out in the attempt to broaden your attraction range. And all you do is confuse. Respectfully, lovingly, you confuse. You need, no, that's the wrong language. I encourage you to niche, to tighten. All I can say is if you don't really know who's going to buy, you'll waste an awful lot of time and money trying to attract people who are never going to buy. And I always coach you to sit for hours and find just one very narrow thread, rather than try to design fancy graphics to appeal to anybody. I know it's simple stuff, but it's really, really powerful. If you know why you're doing it and you know who you're doing it to, then the next thing, I can get this, is what, but this isn't what you do. Can you see what I've written? It's not what do you do. That's not the key thing here. It's what do they want. And here's a surprise for you. Most businesses are so arrogant about what they deliver that they assume that I want what they've got because they think it's good. And I could give you thousands of examples, but classic examples might be somebody selling, I don't know, a utility provision, and they say, but we're cheaper. And I'm like, so? That's not what I want. There are thousands of examples in any industry. But businesses are arrogant and they say, we've got this and it's great, so you should want it. And all of their language is about them. And I'm saying, what do they want? The lady that's took Rebekah, sleep. Your customers are probably two sides. One, the client in the corporate world. What do they want? Productivity. Different message. Your client on the private side, what do they want? Relief. A very, very different message. And if your business has a corporate and a personal, a domestic or a commercial, then they're different messages. And businesses everywhere will have one message, because the message is, hey, look what we do. It's just never going to work. And I mention this, but it's critical. I grew up in the old days when there was a TV program called Mind Your Language. Now, very few people in this room will remember that, but it was classic because it showed in a sort of adult education, classroom environment, the differences in our language. Here's the thing though, you assume if you're speaking English, everybody speaks the same language. What I will guarantee 100% is your interpretation of that word means a different thing to you. And it's the meaning of the word, not the word, that has relevance. And yeah, I can be a bit anal, and yes, I do study people and study language, but the root, there's so much in language. The key thing is, if someone in your audience says, what's your business? Cyber security, right. Be careful, Ben. So, is everybody worried about cyber security? I'm going to beg to differ. Yeah. He said yes. But you see, if I took everybody and said, are you worried about any of these things? They may not worry about, quote, cybersecurity, but they may worry about, quote, being hacked. And you are sticking to your language, and I'm not picking on you, humbly, I'm not. You shouldn't sit on the front row, should you, really? But your language and their language, you interpret. Because we all do, by the way, and no disrespect to, what's your name? Joseph. Thank you. We all interpret, but the customer's language was being hacked, not cybersecurity. And the point is absolutely fundamental. Please go back and get all your marketing literature. Look at everything you ever write and say. Because I guarantee 90% of the time, you're talking your language, not mine. Because you didn't actually go and find out who your real customer was. Because you thought it could be almost anybody. I love you. I want you to succeed. Have a look at your language. I word, yeah. So here's the thing. Have you ever heard of the law of attraction?
Every day.
Everybody has.
Every day. Yeah.
And yet we're not really conscious of it. And what we spend our day doing, again, I'm not saying that it's everybody every time, but you push. You push. You spend time and effort promoting out. You deliberately push marketing, email, text, social media, and I get all of that. And I'm not saying don't do it, but you're pushing often a message instead of perhaps inviting conversation and dialogue. And I believe this. I don't know what business you're in, but I will pretty much say you have competitors. Anybody in the world that doesn't have a competitor? Good. And I say good because here's the thing. If ever you thought you wanted to be the first into a market, slap yourself and remember this. If you're the first and only one in a market, there isn't a market. No one's buying it. So you have to welcome competitors. That's a good spin, isn't it? You have to have a positive view. Thank goodness there's competitors, because it's broadening the market. However, why are you different? The only thing you've ever got is you. If you think you have an edge on a product or a service, somebody will compete and copy it if it's any good. If you think you've got an edge on price, then you're on the race to the grave. The only edge we ever have in business is the energy and the human factor. And that is what you have to work at. And if I never see you again, and I don't know any of your businesses, please put you front and centre in your business. Put your energy, your passion, your why, when you've discovered it, front and centre in your business. And that's why I started with the why, as many years ago Simon Sinek said. If you've got your why clear and your passion is from your heart, then that bit's a lot easier. So work at attracting people because of who you are, rather than pushing messages because of what you do. That's a picture I took earlier. You don't believe it? That was just last month on the beach. However, the point is, again, I was sharing a conversation with somebody else yesterday. Balance. Everybody knows what it is. And in work, we don't do it. Oh, yes, I do. I'm just busy at the moment. Okay. So here's a little thought, and again, take this with you if you wish. In your head right now, just answer this question. What would you say is of the most value to you in your life? I don't need to shout out the answer. In your head right now, what or who or where or anything, what is the most value to you in your life right now? Got it clearly? Maybe 1, 2, 3 things, yeah? Now show me your calendar, your diary, and show me where the time is in your calendar for those things. Go on, show me your calendar. It ain't there, is it? Because what we value are probably things like home, family, health, and in our calendar, we're stuck with the work. And then we wonder why we're not as productive at work, and we wonder why we're not as happy when we're not at work, because we're out of balance. There isn't a right or a wrong, there just is. But I would love you enough to say, go and have a look at your calendar and adjust your balance. It may be that you are doing a lot of the right things to a lot of the right people, but possibly not leveraging your time, and so we maybe, or arguably should, leverage our time so you can find time for what matters by systemizing the tasks. There are some very, very good people in the room, some good systems, but if you haven't got a system, because maybe it's a new startup business, that's okay. However, you will get to the point when your new startup business starts to be very, very busy, which is good. But when it starts to get very, very busy, it'll demand more and more of you, which is not good. And so the irony is that the best time to put a big system together is when you're not a big business. Start with a system. And this day and age is so easy for that, but systemize. Leverage your time, automate wherever possible. And by the way, yes, do I agree with automation of some social media posts? Automate the posting, but not the writing, not the creation. Put your energy and passion into creation, but automate the posting. Put your individual, unique style of language into the writing, but automate the sending. Use the systems to leverage your time. I don't want you to burn out. But it's dead simple. Spend an hour, speak to people who know what they're doing, and don't burn out. I'm going to keep coming back to this. Every time we ever meet, like in the beginning, it's the human planet. At the moment, although there are some nutters that want to change that, it's a human planet at the moment. And that is what makes the world spin. It's who you know. And it's what they think about you, of course. Human connections, where it comes in. Anybody in the room do business with someone they don't like? No. Paul was talking about it earlier, and very valid. Anybody do business in the room with someone they don't trust? No. But how do I know you? And how can I learn to trust you? You're not showing me you. You're showing me pictures, fancy marketing language. You're telling me blurb. You're talking about the it. You're no different from anyone else. How can I know and trust if you're not showing me you? You wouldn't buy off someone you didn't know. So why are you expecting people to buy off you when they're not knowing you? Because we've got sucked into this, I'm going to use a gentle phrase called bollocks, of the way things should be done instead of doing what's in your heart, the natural way. Be you. Human connection. But leverage your time with tasks in systems. It is all about the numbers, as I keep getting told, because I'm in sales. That's where we get paid. That's where you have to measure your performance. And that's the only thing we are measuring. It's not one of them days. It's measure your performance because you can improve it. Systems do that. Again, I will say to you, okay, what's your average sale value? Well, some of them are very small and some of them are very big, so it's very difficult to say. I know that. I asked you, what is your average sales value? Well, like I say, some of them are only, £200, and some of them are 20,000, so it's very difficult to say. Do you know what the word average actually means? What you do is you take them all, and you add up the value, and you divide by the total, and it gives you an average. So, what is your average sales value? That's a really simple question. And there isn't a business anywhere that shouldn't be able to answer that. And just one of the things we want to measure and manage up might be that. I don't know. Is it interesting? But when you get all that together, rinse and repeat like man. You know what the thing is? The amazing thing about business is it's not difficult until we make it difficult. We get on and we've got all these other thoughts and other people's ideas and other stuff, and instead of just going, do you know what, this is what I feel like, this is what I am, this is what I love, let me help you, let me serve you. We get all swept away with stuff, and if you put 5 or 6 basics together, you've got it nailed. Just duplicate. And every time I work with Santosh, he says, "You can't speak forever." And he knows I can, so I could probably talk for 2 days and share other ideas. But he'll come up in a minute and say, "Get off, Ben." But business is really quite simple if we do it the way arguably it's more natural. But once you've got a formula, you can just rinse and repeat. But it will take you a while to tweak your language. It might take you a while to really drill down who you want to sell to as your ideal customer. It might take you several weeks to take that language tweak onto your broadcast media. And it might take you several weeks to put systems together so you can automate some of your tasks. But once you've done that, if you spend the next 6 months really working on your business, not in your business trying to get it to grow, your business will be transformational and so would your life. And we get stuck into the "I'm too busy to do it." And guess what? You're always going to be too busy because it isn't built right. There's no such word as failure. Interesting little quirky bit about them. So I've told you a minute ago I'm all into language, right? Every single word has a meaning. And that meaning is in my head. So to my wife, the word spider is "ah!" To me, it's just a word. But every word has a different meaning, because when you learn that word, you're told this is a crayon and this is what we do with a crayon. And so there are language patterns that are actually embedded in your psyche. I won't tell you about that now, but what I will tell you is that when I was raising my little daughter, I was a single parent for 10 years, me and my little girl, living in Spain. And I've always been a very positive guy, so I bred my daughter to be a very positive girl. And there are some things you just, it's not, you can't use some words. So, one day I'm in the car with my friend Brian, and Brian's talking away, and he used the F word. And my Charlotte in the back says, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, he used the F word." And Brian's going, "What? Did I swear?" Because sometimes you can swear and you didn't know you were saying it. And Brian's going, "Did I swear this way?" I said, "No." And Charlotte's going, "But Daddy, he used the F word." And Brian's going, "Help." So I said, "Well, Brian, what you said is you talked about it failing. And I've taught my daughter that there isn't a such word as failing, that's a swear word. Because we just find a way that wasn't the best way to do it. We didn't fail." And Charlotte to this day remembers things like that. And thank heaven, because she's now a very positive, very beautiful lady. But again, it's our language. But the principle is, you don't fail. And again, I'll share another thought that was shared with me many years ago when I first started speaking. If you fall over and fall flat on your face, and then get up, guess what? You've already moved forward. You try it. Try it. I'm not going to ask you to try it now, but if you fall over forward now and lie on the floor, and then naturally just lift yourself up, you'll be about 4 foot further. So even when you fall down, you go forward. Just little anchors, just to help you be positive. But the key to everything is you. People buy off you. They might buy the product because they need it, but I've got a choice of product providers. They might buy the service because they need it, and they don't have a lot of choice, but they're buying it still because of you. Because if they trust you, they're buying it. People only respond to people. You can spend all the world money to do your marketing, and what you're trying to do, I hope, is get a response. But then it's up to you to convert, and that's where I step in with sales. Getting a response is good, but getting conversion is money. And I know that you love what you're doing and you want to do it for nothing, I know a lot of small business owners are doing what they do for nothing, what they want. The point is, it's you, front and centre. It's you that I ring. It's you that I ask, how does it work? I ask, what's in it for me? I ask, where can it go wrong? I say, help me, because I'm nervous. It's you that gives me the confidence to part with my money. It is you. Where are you? Where's your energy? Where's your individuality? Where's your passion? Where's you? Again, I talk a lot about language, and I'll share one thought before he definitely kicks me off. How you are, some people are deemed to be professional. And the professional people, do you know where that phrase came from in our English language? I'll tell you. In them days of many years ago, when there was much more visible class differentiation or distinction, there was the paupers like me everywhere in the town, and up across the town there was townhouses. You know, the big, fabulous townhouses with carriages outside and butlers. And that was where the professionals lived. And we coined a phrase in the English vocabulary of being professional, like the professionals, but it was aspirational towards the townhouses, the carriages, and the wealth. It was not descriptive of character or descriptive of attraction or ever used in a world of sales. So I see a lot of people that are trying to carry themselves professionally. Obviously I do. But professionally, sometimes it's a bit rigid. It's like, well, I can't say anything about accountants because we've got one in the room, so I'm going to be very careful. But no disrespect to any profession, because I know some great lawyers, I know some great accountants, and I know some great doctors, but they're not salespeople. They don't have to attract. You go to them cap in hand asking. And so what we've got to watch is that our behaviour, our language, and our way we carry ourselves in our world has got to attract and sell. So just be careful with the professional image, because what's more important for attraction and selling is the personal image. Don't be completely unprofessional, but be personal at all times. Because that, my friend, is the key to your business. Last, I think, is you've got to believe. And I think this has been tested in the last couple of years. He's been in business for several years and seen a dip. And in the dip, think, oh, why should I carry on? And you have to have the belief. But this goes full circle, because if you started with the why, and you know why you're doing it because you love. So I'll only use me as an example because I don't mind being shot at. But I love doing what I do because I love you. And I stand and talk about love because I'm a fan of this wonderful human creation, and that's all there is. I do it every day. And I often do it, and I help loads of people pro bono because it's not about money. Because it's easy when it's in you. It's not a job. But keeping the faith when it's not in you is very hard. So again, we go back to that beginning of why we're doing it. And I'll leave you with a couple of quotes because so again, I've got quotes. When I lived in Tenerife with Charlotte, and we had just about two of us, and I had positive little sticky notes all around my flat. So I love these things because I put them everywhere as a daily mental reminder. But if the top one, we can't change the winnings, but we can adjust the sales, relevant to the current times, it may not be the same world now as it was 4 years ago. So we can get lost in the old way and complain, or we can adjust. That was Dolly Parton, I believe, said that. But the bottom one is a Benism. Because the one thing, and I'll leave you completely to think about this, I have met millions of people in thousands of audiences, and they come into business with the mindset of being formerly an employee. And why is that important? Because when you come at it from an employee, a labour mindset, you cost everything in a cost hour, cost of product, etc. Your thinking about money is radically different because you were conditioned to take away. You were conditioned, this is what your salary is. You were conditioned, this is what you're worth. You have been taught, this is what it costs. You are conditioned negatively about money. Nobody's fault, but recognise it and shift it. Because when you think like a leader, you don't question all the finer detail of the money. You just know the bigger picture is you're going to get it done. And the thinking is what changes a small business into a bigger business. So with love, go away, please. Stay in touch, please. But think like a leader, not a labourer. Have a good one. Bye.